Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:07. It's O'Connor and Company. Would you look at that? We got a lot to get to. I should just jump right into it. Starting at 7:35, Jim Spiers gives some advice on preventing your children or anybody really from drowning accidentally. 8:05, Allie Hopper with Guard Against Trafficking and this recent bombshell, 65,000 calls unanswered to a Biden administration hotline for children in danger. And then at 8:35, David Wild on the passing of Ozzy Osbourne. It's Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. Morning, Julie.
Good morning.
Did you know that Tom Fitton, before he came to Washington, D.C. to head up Judicial Watch, he was actually a roadie for Black Sabbath? He was in charge of making sure Ozzy made it onto stage on a timely basis, which was not easy, Tom, back in the day.
Man, that was a little bit before my time.
Oh, sure. Make me feel old. Let's see. Well, Tom, it's things in D.C. certainly often appear to be a crazy train, let's face it, and Ozzy was prescient about that. But these last few days have certainly unearthed quite a bit to sort of stoke the flames that a lot of us have been keeping going for quite some time, and that has to do with all roads leading back to Obama with regard to the Russian collusion hoax. What do you think of the latest declassification and Obama's denial now that there was anything inappropriate about him directing the intelligence community to come up with that assessment, apparently based on the conclusion he had reached?
Yeah, and what the assessment was, to bring your listeners up to date, was that the core part of it was, that was purposely, it looks like, leaked, was that Putin basically wanted Trump elected. And what the information shows is that there was really no good basis for it other than the Steele dossier. And, of course, the Steele dossier was a smear operation run by St. Hillary of the grand jury, funded by her campaign. But it was also a joint operation with the FBI because the FBI was also paying Steele. And Steele was an FBI operative and asset. So they put it into this document, the intelligence assessment, gave it to 200 people despite it being super secret. It leaked immediately just before Trump came in. The Steele dossier was publicized in an aggressive way, and it all went from there to Mueller, et cetera, to try to destroy Trump and remove him from office.
So, and let's not forget, because we now have revelations from Senator Chuck Grassley, chairman of the Judiciary Committee in the Senate, that it apparently FBI Director James Comey and his team, they're looking into the illegal private email server that Hillary Clinton used, neglected to actually do basic investigative work on some thumb drives that they had and discover exactly how extensive the crime was there with regard to the mishandling of top secret classified info. We would never have known about that email server if it weren't for you, Tom, and the team at Judicial Watch and your FOIA requests over it. That really is the root of all this. They came up with the Steele dossier to try to throw mud at Trump because her email scandal was so devastating to her campaign that they had to slime Trump as well.
Right, and they basically had gotten information from a source showing that her server seemingly had been hacked by Russian types, and her emails were on these thumb drives. In addition, they had intelligence associated with this information that Loretta Lynch, the DOJ, was trying to rig the investigation to protect Hillary as well. And Comey was so nervous about it that he thought that it might have been at least partly true, given Loretta Lynch's odd response to his briefing about it. And all of this was covered up from the American people. And, you know, thankfully the election wasn't rigged in that regard, but they sure as heck tried to. But in order to distract from her email, in my view, they came up with these Russian smears, Hillary and company, and it froze the Justice Department basically during most of the Trump administration, and prevented any serious investigation of what went on in 2016 and before then, related to not only her emails, but as we are talking about the effort to destroy him. But rather than focusing on the interference in the election by Hillary and the Obama FBI and company, they focused on Russia, which was completely fake.
And now Tulsi Gabbard has detailed this information that Obama was sort of the ringleader behind all of this, orchestrating this, putting this all, sort of getting this all started. And I'm sure you saw yesterday, Trump called this treason. Obviously, Obama, is not going to be going to jail for this, but what will be the consequences in your view? I know it's early, but what will we see? Is it going to be the same sort of congressional hearings and then it all goes away and nobody pays a price, or what's your prediction?
Well, if Trump does something different than has previously been done, there'll be a serious criminal investigation. There might be prosecutions. And if it's what's been previously done otherwise, though, nothing will happen, as you highlight. And I think that's the challenge for the Trump administration. Can he rely on the Justice Department and the FBI to investigate themselves? And I wouldn't if I were him. I'd have an independent investigator or prosecutor reporting directly to him that he selects, that has the resources necessary to do this type of investigation, because the FBI is implicated and the Justice Department is implicated.
Well, that's interesting, because I understand where you're coming from there, but the difference here is that the director of the FBI, Kash Patel, and the deputy director, Dan Bongino, nobody knows more about this scandal than Kash Patel does. He was Devin Nunes's investigator on the Intel Committee. Recognizing that the FBI is partly to blame here, I think, I don't know. I think that Kash is perfectly positioned to be able to do this investigation. Or you think just because the FBI as an institution, regardless of Kash Patel's position, this deserves a special prosecutor?
There are more James Comeys in the FBI than Kash Patel's.
Yeah.
There are more Loretta Lynch's in the Justice Department than Pam Bondi's.
Yeah.
And you're asking these folks to investigate their own institution that basically has been so corrupted and so irredeemably compromised. I just don't think it's going to be. I'm not trustworthy of the investigation. And frankly, with the way they handled the Epstein records, they can't even get a disclosure case going in terms of producing records to the American people. So I think institutionally they can do a complex investigation. So politically fraught like this, I don't think so.
We're speaking to Tom Fitton of Judicial Watch. Tom, can you stick around, because we've got Hunter Biden back in the news, and I know that your eyebrows were raised quite a bit based on some of the revelations in that interview and some of the things you're trying to get to the bottom of with regard to his pardon, plus more Epstein news. Can you stay with us one more segment?
Yes.
Excellent. Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch. That's judicialwatch.org. Love those guys. It's 7:15.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
We continue now with Tom Fitton of Judicial Watch. Let's start with Hunter Biden. You've put forth a lawsuit against the Justice Department for details on the Hunter Biden pardon records. Give us the details there about what you're looking for exactly. Is there a normal process and normal set of research and paperwork that would normally go into a presidential pardon, and you're looking to see if the Hunter Biden pardon was handled in a traditional way?
Yes, normally you would have the Justice Department Office of Pardon Attorney produce records, and certainly a pardon that was under consideration and talked about as it was in the last part of the Biden administration would certainly create records in the Justice Department. You can presume the top people of the Justice Department were very nervous about Hunter and the prospect of pardons. On top of that, You have the question of the validity of Hunter's pardon and the other pardons because of Biden's not only mental incompetence, but the fact that, at least in part, the Hunter Biden pardon is, I would argue, null and void because it's a pardon about nothing that goes back 10 years, and he's pardoned for anything that might have happened. That's not a pardon. That's wishful thinking that a prosecutor is going to take that seriously and not prosecute it. And I hope President Trump proves me right and just prosecutes Hunter or anyone else as if these pardons are not a factor.
I'm sure you're paying attention to Oversight Chairman Comer's committee as they look into what may have happened there with regard to the president's health and mental and physical decline. Look at all of these people now. I think we're up to 3 or 4 people who have pled the fifth against self-incrimination in a criminal matter when they're asked questions like, did anyone tell you to lie about the president's health? Did you see anybody else carrying out the duties of the president? It's a remarkable number of people pleading the fifth, Tom. That's their constitutional right, but does this indicate that there's a major scandal here?
Well, I do think there are potential crimes here if White House officials were exercising authority unlawfully. And yeah, I still do think it's a crime about how Biden was removed from the campaign. I do think it's a crime that 15 million Americans had their votes erased in the primary just like that. Was there a conspiracy against their voting rights that by having their votes removed? I do think it's potentially a crime if Biden was threatened with the 25th Amendment if he didn't leave, as has been alleged by a report. And guess who conveyed that threat? Allegedly, Barack Obama.
Yeah,
I think the coup against our democracy, if you want to use that word, last year deserves a criminal investigation, and this would be part of it.
Also, Tom, boy, it is a busy day for you and all the work you do at Judicial Watch. We've got the Epstein story continuing to fester here. The latest development is the Justice Department announced that they're going to reach out to Ghislaine Maxwell's attorneys to see if she has anything to bring to the table here. And the Oversight Committee is going to subpoena Ghislaine Maxwell. Is there a reason to believe that, I mean, this woman is a felon, a convicted felon of some of the worst horrible crimes. What is it she can say, and how much of it should be believed if there's no files or paperwork to back it up?
Well, I mean, what you do is you test her testimony or you test her information. If there is material to back it up or other evidence that they don't know about yet, I mean, the news is they've reopened the Epstein case. That's what we hear. When you start talking to the number one witness, it means that the Justice Department doesn't do that because they're, curious about gossip. They're doing a criminal investigation. They may not call it one officially, but the number two official at the Justice Department going to visit a witness like Maxwell in jail or meet with her is an extraordinary development. But in the meantime, we still don't have the records. We want the records released under FOIA, and I've been saying this repeatedly on this program as well. The way out of this, in part for the administration, is just release the records under FOIA. We've got the big lawsuit. Just start producing records. I mean, I'd like one record at least under FOIA. You haven't gotten one record yet about it.
That's astounding.
It really is.
That is astounding. I mean, who's holding things up? You would think that the Trump administration's Justice Department would be a little bit more cooperative with you, Tom, and the people at Judicial Watch.
Yeah, it's strange. I guess given the timing of the lawsuit, the fact we haven't gotten one document, however outrageous, isn't all that extraordinary because it does sometimes take time. But if I were them, I'd focus on getting as much as I could out under law as I could. And there may be material they want to withhold, given all the statements that have been made by President Trump and others. But that sort of thing can be done under FOIA, too. You say, I'm withholding this. This is the reason. And if we want to litigate it further because we think there's a good basis to do so, we can in court. But at least that process is playing out. And And it shows to me a level of lack of concern about the FOIA process. I don't think it's helpful either to the public interest or clearly to the Justice Department.
Especially for a president who ran and a team at Justice and the FBI who, when they were nominated and they were testifying for their confirmation hearings, bent over backwards to say that they want to be transparent. They want to bring back the era of transparency so that the American people can trust their government again. And the fact that they're not releasing any documents to Judicial Watch under FOIA requests is disconcerting, to say the least, and something that we're glad you're on top of. And we'll continue to work with you on it as well. Thanks, Tom. Always good to talk with you.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Tom Fitton, ladies and gentlemen, judicialwatch.org.
Well, it is summer. Kids are in the pool and at the beach, and we know parents worry. So coming up, we'll talk to Jim Spiers of Stop Drowning Now. We'll get his swim safety advice. Keep it here at 7:30.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. WMAL. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:37. O'Connor and Company, thanks for tuning in. Coming up at 8:05, Allie Hopper. You're going to want to hear this conversation. Her organization is Guard Against Trafficking. We're just uncovering more information about what happened during the Biden administration and those unaccompanied minors who have been dropped off with so-called sponsors here in America. And then at 8:35, David Wild will reflect on the passing of Ozzy Osbourne and his legacy and his impact on music and the culture at large. It's Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
Joining us right now is Jim Spiers. He's with Stop Drowning Now. Saw him on Fox News talking about the untimely, horrible death of Malcolm Jamal Warner. It turns out he drowned off the coast of Costa Rica on a family trip. And Jim, thanks for joining us, because this is actually more common than people know. Drowning is a major cause of death, isn't it?
Yes, and thank you for having me. Drowning is a major cause of death. It is now currently the leading cause of death in children ages 1 through 4. So it's climbed up to that leading cause.
That is absolutely remarkable. And is it safer to swim in a swimming pool versus swimming in the sea? Or, I mean, as we know from Malcolm Jamal Warner, he got caught up in what they're calling a riptide. I've never quite understood what's a riptide or undertow and all these various. Are they all sort of the same thing but with different names?
Well, riptide, rip current are the same thing. Riptide is like the 70s and 80s, and rip current, they decided to call it rip current because all currents in the ocean, not tides. Tides is high tide, low tide, right?
Oh, I see.
So that's why that changed. And answering your question, pool versus ocean, it really depends on your swimming skill, because a pool can be just as dangerous if you do not have swimming skill as an ocean can if you just have moderate swimming skill, right? So you want to make sure that your skill is appropriate for the body of water that you're swimming in.
You know, I'm a mom of 3 boys, and I recall when they were very young, they're teenagers now, and I thought I would feel better when they were, strong teenagers, but we just went on vacation to Florida, and I, was on high alert and was nervous when they were in the ocean. But I remember as a mom of young kids, we didn't have a pool, and, sometimes for people, access to pools is difficult. What can you tell parents who have young children? They want to get their kids trained and they want their kids to be strong swimmers. What if they don't have access to a pool or to lessons?
That's a very difficult question, because you have to really be in the water to learn how to swim, right? The one thing we can do, and like what we do at Stop Drowning Now, is we are a dry land curriculum. And so we go into schools, churches, synagogues, recreation centers, and we teach about water safety in a dry land space. So hopefully that when the children or young adults go into the water or near the water, that will all kick in and they'll start to pay attention to everything they learned in the classroom. And so we're basically just meeting them where they are, since they can't necessarily get to water or come to us. And incidentally, 50% to 60% of the children in the United States do not know how to swim.
Is part of that, Larry, really quickly, is part of that learning also explaining to children just how dangerous it is? I will tell you, when we were on our way down to Florida, I talked to my kids about these rip currents, which are actually, I think the area we were in, it's well known that they're rip currents. Is part of that curriculum, right, just explaining to kids, water is dangerous, and stay out of it if you don't know how to swim.
Right, it is. And so a lot of what the curriculum side of it is, what we would suggest is, yes, water is dangerous, and children should always check in with an adult before they go into the water. And so that's what that training is. But on the other side of that, parents need to realize that they are responsible for watching their children. They are responsible for the supervision. They should not be on their iPad. They should not be on their phone. They should not be going in the house to get them water. They need to keep their eyes on the child at all times. And if you're at a party and everyone's watching the pool, then no one's watching the pool. So you need one person paying attention and watching the pool at all times, so they can't pass off that responsibility to one other person, not a group.
We're speaking with Jim Spiers. His organization is Stop Drowning Now, and we're talking about how you can maybe protect yourself or your children from potential tragedy on focusing on swim safety. I'd mentioned earlier in the show when we were very concerned about our children as we were raising them, that they would be at a friend's house that has a pool. We don't have a pool, but a lot of our neighbors do. And so we got them swim lessons and taught them, you can get your toddler, our kids at the age of 2, at least learned enough to sort of blow out their nose, blow bubbles out their nose and sort of, get themselves to the side of a pool if necessary. That was part of the curriculum of this class. And, of course, that shouldn't give anyone a false sense of security. They should still be vigilant. But do you recommend that? I mean, how early is too early to have a kid start to learn how to acquaint themselves with pool safety?
Right. So my other hat is I own swim schools in 6 states. And so I do that exact other side. And we actually start lessons at 6 months because we believe acclimation to the water is just as important. And also, at the 6-month class, the parents are involved as well. So they're learning as well. So it's really, and you probably in the water with your 2-year-old as well, which is really, really important. And so at an early age, they learn easier. They actually float easier because of their body mass index. They're just better able to handle and start to learn and move forward. If they start at the early age, then there's less opportunity for fear to develop on land like a lot of children have fear at 3 or 4 because they've been told to stay away from the pool. Don't go near the pool. And that makes them afraid to go in the water. It makes the lessons harder to begin at that point. But yes, to your question, yes, it's best to start them early if at all possible. It's, because that's when, like say, the leading cause of death, 1 to 4, that's when it's happening.
Jim Spiers, we got to leave it there. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And hopefully many who are listening to you take your advice and start getting more vigilant and focused on it. It's Stop Drowning Now. Check that out online. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
It's 7:44.
Wednesday on the Derek Hunter Show, Rahm Emanuel admits that men can't become women and is immediately excommunicated from the Holy Church of the Democratic Party. We'll talk about it at 3 o'clock on WMAL.
We lost Ozzy Osbourne yesterday, of course, the founder and lead singer of Black Sabbath. This just comes a couple of weeks after Black Sabbath had a farewell performance in England that was attended by just superstars from the heavy metal scene. I think you could argue that Black Sabbath was one of the founding metal groups, if not originating heavy metal groups, spawning so many, copycats and such, but he was an original for sure. One of the finest rock and roll voices in history. I'll be honest, I was never a huge metal guy or Sabbath.
Did you watch the reality show? I never watched one show.
I watched some of it. I mean, honestly, he did have this rebirth. He married Sharon, his wife, and Sharon Osbourne, who was a manager, sort of took control of his career, and he had a whole second kittenhood, as it were, with this reality show. And cut 22 here, one of the iconic moments of it was that he would just mumble. First of all, he had a very thick sort of Northern England accent. And then we suspect that he may have, damaged certain blood cells because of his heavy drug use and partying. He
sort of used a cane and stumbled around, but he had this sort of grumpy British.
And you couldn't understand half of what he was saying. Here's an example.
These band ever were going to call for me, the greatest band ever will always be on my mind. It's called.
No idea. Can't help you. I'm sorry. But it was part of the fun thing that when he would be, wandering around the house and say, here's this, crazy, mad, drug-addled 70s rocker who is just acting like a dad with his kids. Pick up your robe. But you could still barely understand. But his kids all understood every word he said. Right.
Right. I mean, he had this sort of stumbling, bumbling. I think some of it was a routine. To be honest with you, I really do think that some of it was because I've seen enough clips. I never watched the show. I feel bad. I'm not really a big Ozzy Osbourne, Black Sabbath fan. I know that's probably a big shock.
Yeah.
But despite having the big blonde hair, but
you were more into the Go-Go's.
But I do think some of it was an act. But it was the clips I've seen, especially over the last couple of days, hilarious, right? Sort of this bumbling British. But again, I think the thing that was charming to most people is that he kind of acted just like a dad to two teenagers. This launched the careers of his son, Jack, and daughter, Kelly. And
what was interesting is he had this dark sort of vampire persona that he would bring to the stage as the Prince of Evil. But he was actually a super loving, charismatic, sort of happy-go-lucky guy. And he would always, as Adam Gullett pointed out, he would end every show with "Good night, we love you all." And it was a very warm person, actually.
Well, I do remember being scared of him as a young girl. I remember.
But that was the shtick?
It was the shtick. But was it him that bit the head off a bat or something?
That was the rumor, that he got rabies from biting off the head of a rat. I think that
that
was
scared
urban
the
legend.
Death out of me. I remember, and it never really left me. It never really left me.
It's interesting how a lot of these guys who had that. I think he was kind of a conservative. And
me too. Yeah.
Sharon
Osbourne.
Like Gene Simmons, by the way. Gene Simmons, conservative, and also Alice Cooper was a right-wing Republican. So all these guys who had these crazy, edgy personas. Can I just? Do we have time? This is one of my favorite Ozzy moments when he was asked. They often have celebrities sing the seventh inning stretch on Sundays at Wrigley Field. Here's Ozzy Osbourne struggling his way through "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." Oh, what a legend.
God bless him.
David Wild of Rolling Stone will join us at 8:35 to talk about Ozzy. It's 7:53.